Hello, artists. Thank you for joining us today for our office hours. We'll wait a few more minutes while we're letting people in from the waiting room. We're very excited today. We have a new panel of speakers, including myself. You guys have seen me before. I'm here with 𝗺𝗏𝗏, mostly working on the gallery side. Also joining us today is 𝗵𝗁𝗫𝗍𝗍, and she is a marketing expert focusing since 2005. She's been focusing specifically on helping artists, galleries, entrepreneurs build and really strategize around their marketing efforts. And she's a real results-driven strategist. So we're really excited to have her today and to get some real great marketing advice from her. We'll also be sharing her website and contact information with the video for those of you that are watching this live. So you feel free to reach out to her directly. Also with us today is Laura Michael, who, Laura, if you don't mind waving, she heads up our artist liaison program here at 𝗺𝗏𝗏𝗏. So a lot of you will have touch points with her. And then finally, we have 𝗺𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀, who is joining us. She's a member of our customer support team here at 𝗺𝗏𝗏𝗏. So if you've ever written into support or used our chat button, she's one of a team of experts on the platform that often kind of guide you through, give you advice, help troubleshoot. I'll also say Christine's an artist herself and has a lot of experience in the gallery realm as well. So we've always included her and her knowledge on these office hours. So we're really excited to talk with you guys today. You know, it's an interesting topic, online art sales. And I think this is something, you know, all artists should be thinking about if they're not already. But kind of what we're going to focus on today is how to implement e-commerce as an artist. So just jumping right in here.
And I also wanted to add that as you have questions along the way, you can always drop them in the chat and we'll answer at the end. And we'll also open up to a Q&A at the end. So
yeah, thanks, Christine. Yeah, feel free to drop those in the chat. You know, a lot of interesting things have happened in the past couple of years. You know, much of it could be attributed to the pandemic, but also just as the, you know, shopping experience online has changed. We could really, you know, have a whole breakout session about current trends in e-commerce. I mean, certainly, you know, one thing that we've all seen is that with the pandemic, people were at home more, and that was great for, you know, galleries and artists. You know, a lot of our galleries saw record-breaking sales in 2020 and then 2021. So people were at home, they were thinking about Zoom calls, they were thinking about their backgrounds, they were spending a lot more time in their homes. So just wanting to, you know, update their decor or, you know, finally pick out a piece for above their couch. So, you know, that was great for artists and galleries as people were getting more comfortable with becoming collectors. And then the other big thing that happened was, you know, people were spending more time at home and they were online. So instead of going out to galleries, you know, they were looking at websites, and certainly Instagram traffic and, you know, Facebook traffic. We'll be talking about, you know, social platforms quite a bit today, but, you know, people are just becoming more comfortable for shopping for, you know, everything online. I like to attribute a lot of this to Amazon. You know, Amazon has made us all comfortable with that one-click purchase. And I think that's feeding into kind of bigger ticket items, such as artwork. So, you know, if you're not already thinking about e-commerce, you're kind of, you know, slow to jump on the boat. So, you know, it's a great time to kind of consider your own e-commerce strategy. And kind of going along with that, you know, is selling work online right for you? And so we'll touch on a couple of these topics, but, you know, right now it's easier than ever to use e-commerce. You know, we'll be talking about this with Art Cloud websites. They all come with built-in e-commerce through Stripe. So, you know, out of the gate, you can add that and start selling work. But there's some things that you might want to consider. You know, are you able to fulfill large orders or to keep up with, you know, communications that collectors would expect with an e-commerce site. So we'll be talking about some of those things, and then, you know, things just industry, art gossip, you know, platforms such as Sotheby's are launching things like Artist Choice, which are, you know, making it available to artists to consign work directly to auction houses. So kind of circumventing the galleries altogether. And I think that this is something we've also seen kind of as a trend overall, that, you know, as collectors start following independent artists and not just galleries on things like social media and through newsletters, you know, it puts them in direct contact with artists. So there's, you know, a real opportunity for you to speak directly to your collectors and to make those connections and sales.
All right, so hi everybody, I'm Nicole. I want to talk a little bit about kind of how to succeed as far as, you know, e-commerce for artists. The biggest thing to think about is how you can build an audience, whether that's your newsletter or social media, or, you know, through Art Cloud and, you know, sending emails just to your collectors. You really want to have a strong digital foundation and make sure that you have a website. Social media, which we'll get into all these points later, but just kind of want to give you a broad overview. But having, you know, a clear, concise website, having good social media, also business cards, you know, for in person, and also good to get business cards to build that newsletter. And really having an audience that you can let people know when you have new artwork, when you have a new series, when you have a new show. You can be the best artist in the entire world, and if no one knows about you, then you're an artist for one, right? So really how to succeed is relationship building and community building. And we'll get into all those points coming up.
So I'm going to toss the screen share over to Christine, who's going to give us just a quick intro into the platform and to Art Cloud websites.
Hello, everybody. Let me share my screen here. All right. I think you all can see my screen. Yeah, so we talked about this in our last art office hours, and I want to drop, I'll drop it in the chat, a link to the topic, which was what makes a good artist website. And in fact, we had the CEO of Art Cloud give his insights and advice. So that's a really great artist hours to watch again. So I'm going to drop that into the chat in a little bit here. But I'm just going to do a quick little nuts and bolts overview of making a good website. And the first thing is prices, availability, consistency, and relevance. You want all of that stuff to be, you know, solid. And we talked a little bit about, you know, Nicole mentioned a good digital foundation, and Melanie was talking about a direct conversation with your audience and your fans. And so having something for them to look at, something, you know, you're controlling that narrative with your website, which is really great. So I'm going to bring up an example website of a Bay Area artist that we know, Travis Collinson. He has a beautiful website, it's very consistent. And some of the great things he has on here that allows you to, you know, take charge of that conversation that you have with your artists is an inquire button. So I'm just going to go here to his artwork. Let's look at some paintings. He has a beautiful representation of his paintings here. And if you click on one, there's also another thing to think about is having more than one image. Sometimes if you want to have a detail, it's a very textural work, you can add the more content you have for people to look at, you keep them on your website, you keep them engaged. It's fun for the person visiting your website. And here he has an inquire button. So with Art Cloud websites in particular, when an audience engages with that, they put in their name and email address and ask a question that goes directly into your contacts, so that you can, that conversation can start coming alive, and then you can add them to your newsletter, as Nicole was mentioning. So it's a really great, you know, all these dots are connected for you with Art Cloud. And another great thing that he has available is this room view. And again, you're connecting with your audience. They can see the scale of a work. They can even, upload their own background. And if they have a area where they want to see how that painting works or where it looks good, they can choose their own image, which is great. And then another thing that we talked about was e-commerce with Stripe. So in 𝗏𝗏𝗏, it's set up. Once you have your website, your account subscribed, you can just go into your account settings, and under integrations, all you have to do is flip this switch, and you enter some financial information. Yeah.
Your bank accounting and routing
Thank
information,
you.
and that'll set up a free Stripe account.
Yeah.
We won't be showing that today,
No, but it's there, and it's very, very simple and easy to get set up. And so once you have that going and you start building invoices, you can send these beautiful invoices to your clients. I'm going to show you what that looks like. You can have like a representative logo and all the information here. You can choose what you want to include and exclude. And it's just a really nice, polished, easy to read document for your collectors. And you can also create certificates of authenticity. And in your inventory, if you hover over the inventory and go to this actions menu, you go here to export and authenticity, and you can provide a beautiful certificate of authenticity for your clients with your bio. And just it's kind of like I said, like taking control of your own narrative and how you want to represent yourself, and also that it looks really polished and professional. Yeah. People enjoy that.
Yeah, I think just to build on that, Christine, one big misconception with kind of online sales is that, people will just click and purchase it. But one thing that we really see, and especially with larger ticket price items, is that, having those inquire buttons will lead to a conversation that, it might require some back and forth communication, additional images of the artwork and developing that rapport with the collector. So, these are all things that are built into the site. So maybe someone does come and click in and, purchase some smaller ticket items, but those larger ticket items, having that inquire button that leads those sales back to a conversation directly with you is great.
Yes. Thank you. And so, we wanted to talk about other platforms. I specifically was talking about 𝗏𝗏𝗏 because that's what I know. But Laura has some further information. So I'm going to hand the screen off to Laura. Stop share. Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you, Christine. So, my name is Laura. I'm the artist liaison again here at 𝗏𝗏𝗏. So any questions you have about artist manager accounts or artist websites, I am more than happy to help you out with that. I'm just going to go over some online platforms and marketplaces that are available to you to sell your artwork. So first, we have 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Of course, we have our own marketplace, which is a great feature that is available for all manager customers. And this is a great place to put your work out in front of other 𝗏𝗏𝗏 customers, which includes galleries, curators, art consultants, and other artists. And this is a beautiful way for collectors to come and search for specific artwork. So that's a really nice feature that comes with 𝗏𝗏𝗏 manager accounts. And another great feature about this is that these are direct sales. They connect to your manager and your website, and so there's no commission. The sale is done seamlessly, and as Christine showed you before, it'll help, it'll generate a nice invoice, and everything is just done super efficiently to help you make those online sales. And next, I'll just go over Facebook and Instagram, which are popular marketplaces as well. And you might be familiar with them. But they also have marketplaces available to artists where you can have your own social catalog here on Facebook. Here's an example of that. I'll show you down here. We also have an example of an Instagram catalog, selling your artwork on Instagram. And a nice feature about ArtCloud is that we can connect these to your ArtCloud website and your inventory. So you can make sales directly from Facebook. And that'll just direct your customers to your ArtCloud website so that the sale is super efficient from Instagram and Facebook, which is great because Instagram and Facebook are super saturated with art collectors and enthusiasts, as well as your friends and family. And that's like a really great place to connect to potential buyers. So yeah, as I mentioned, we have integrations for your social catalog on our ArtCloud accounts so that your inventory is automatically updated as well when you're selling from Facebook and Instagram. And Nicole is an expert and will share some more tips and tricks on selling on Instagram a little bit later. And there are other marketplaces out there as well. 𝗁𝗍𝗄𝗏 is a big one, very saturated, it's super popular, and that's a nice option. I'll just show you really quickly. Here's 𝗁𝗍𝗄𝗏. So this is a nice option, but as I mentioned, it's really saturated. It's a little bit harder to get visibility on sites like 𝗁𝗍𝗄𝗏. And they also take a 35% commission, which is kind of a bummer. But and then we also have Fine Art America, which is another option for getting your artwork out in front of a larger audience. And here you can upload your artwork, sell originals, or turn them into prints or merchandise. So I will pass this off to Melanie, who will talk a little bit more about turning your artwork into merchandise and the options there.
Yeah, thank you. Another thing that you could certainly think about doing is editioning your artwork. So if you do originals, there's the idea of coming up with editions. So these could be reproductions. If you've heard the word gClay, it's a fancy word for an archival pigment print. So if there's a really, popular original painting that you have, you might consider making a series of editions from these, maybe a couple of different sizes that are in limited editions. And Nicole's going to speak more about kind of promoting and releasing, but the idea of a limited edition could certainly give you some extra sales strategy around this. Another thing that I want to touch on is the idea of licensing. There are a lot of art consultants that work specifically dealing with licensing. Hotels and the hospital industry, or commercial business spaces. All of those type of businesses often work with like art consultants to license different images. So you would actually be given like a royalty fee, and then they would make reproductions of those different pieces. So if you think that your artwork would be appropriate for that, that's a great avenue to explore. And I might suggest, finding some specific consultants that either specialize in hotels or in hospitals, and really reaching out to them and getting advice and finding out, how you could go that route, because it could be a great kind of revenue source. And they'll be able to give you more specifics, but for hospitals in particular, there's kind of very specific rules and very specific colors. Like you'll never see the color red in a hospital, and the images are often abstract and more pleasing or calming. So think about different avenues where your art might be appropriate, or maybe there's a more niche, hip hotel that you think your images would work well into that brand. And those are certainly, avenues that you can explore. And then Laura touched on this with one resource, and we'll give you a couple of other resources, but the idea of merchandise and print on demand is certainly, you know, a way to get more cash in your pocket without actually making more artwork. So, you know, if you do find that, you know, you start to get a huge Instagram following, but maybe, you know, that isn't your target audience for buying original artwork, like what do you think maybe that audience would be able to buy or would be interested in buying? So, you know, there's things that you can have created, such as like coffee mugs, you know, phone cases, watch bands, t-shirts, you know, a whole host of different things, or cards and catalogs. You know, these are really nice kind of like gift ideas, but if you have, you know, a set of these produced, that's also something that you could keep track of. You know, inside of 𝗺𝗺𝗏, we have the ability to specify between merchandise and artwork. So this would easily allow you to create, you know, merchandise records for things like cards and catalogs, and even have a designated, you know, shop page on your website for merchandise. So you're separating it out. So you're still giving your fine art, you know, your portfolio its own space, but it's also giving a route to, you know, friends and family, maybe with lower budgets, and opportunity to support you financially as an artist. And here, again, we'll be sharing this presentation, but these are a couple of resources of different companies that have services for, you know, printing either prints or greeting cards or cell phone cases or different things like that. But without further ado, I want to toss this over to Nicole, who's going to get some, you know, specific marketing advice.
Awesome. Can everyone see my screen? Great. So it's nice to see a couple of familiar faces, and welcome to everyone. I'm basically here to speak the gospel of digital. You guys have heard of social media. You guys are, you know about email newsletters, but, you know, with clients that I work with, oftentimes they're very busy making art and don't have a lot of time for marketing, or maybe not sure how to market for art. So hopefully I can demystify some of that for you, and also kind of really point you in the areas that you should be putting your attention to. And if you take away anything from, you know, this presentation, or at least the parts that I'm speaking from, I really want to drive home the point about newsletters. You know, in comparison to social media, you don't own your following for social media. You know, someone could hack into your account, you know, you could lose your account, or maybe you post something, only 2 people see it, you know, so it's a great way to build a following, but you don't actually own that following. Mark Zuckerberg does, you know. So with newsletters using MailChimp, or through, you know, the email integration through 𝗺𝗺𝗏, you really are building that community, and you can really interact with them how you see fit. And so, you know, really starting to think about how you can build those newsletters. And there's a couple of ways. One, obviously, is when you meet someone, you get your business card. My trick for business cards, because I lose them immediately, is I take a photo on my phone. And there's even apps that you can just take photos of the business cards. If you have a stack of 100 or whatever, you can take a photo and it automatically puts it into Excel. So there's different, you know, techniques for that. The other, you know, for newsletters is, you know, meeting and greeting people, finding another artist, and maybe you guys can swap lists if it's appropriate. You guys both agree upon the terms, but, you know, starting to grow that newsletter, and making sure that there's a place on your website. Sign up for my newsletter. You know, sometimes people think that if they sign up for a newsletter, it's going to be spam. So some messaging could be, you know, for my quarterly newsletter, or, you know, I only send, you know, a couple times a year, or, you know, letting people know what the newsletter is about, you know, if it's events or behind the scenes or giveaways, and just kind of cluing people in. And then also adding, you know, some of your favorite gallerists or curators, or, you know, movers and shakers of, you know, people in. It's 2022. I had to check, you know, because the pandemic, we don't know what time and space is, but, you know, people know how to unsubscribe. So if they don't like your newsletter, they can just unsubscribe. So, you know, just try to add people to your newsletter responsibly that you think will like them. The other way, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with print, postcards, letters, catalogs. Things that you want to make sure that artists often forget is putting their social media handles on those postcards and letters and catalogs, putting your website on it, making it easy. If you're at an art fair that we talked about, or we're going to talk about in a couple minutes, an idea is to put a QR code, on your little poster on your booth, so that can go to people's website or your website or social media, whatever you guys see fit. So just giving people an opportunity to easily connect with you in any way, shape, or form. Now with social media, there's a lot of different platforms. I have a lot of clients say like, do I need to be on TikTok? I'm not on TikTok, but if you had to choose one platform, I would definitely choose Instagram. As Melanie hinted, they really like artists. They really like art. And if you post consistently on Instagram, Instagram will start sharing your content with suggested posts. They recently changed their algorithm and there's a lot more suggested posts. So they want to share your content, but they need to know what your content is about. So making sure you add hashtags. So if you're an abstract art painter, make sure you add, hashtag abstract art or contemporary art or LA art scene if you're here in Los Angeles, or artists on Instagram. Any way that you would Google it or search, if you're looking at the image and you wanted to search on Google, that's how I usually choose, female artists, artists empowering, there's a bunch of hashtags you can use. Go check out some of your favorite successful painters, see what hashtags they use, and just try to keep it small, like 10 hashtags. Please don't do a list of 50 hashtags in a row. When you do a hashtag, make sure that you don't have any spaces in between the words. Keep it all together, just something to think about. Another thing that's really great is on Instagram is under your bio, and I'll show you this in a second, you get an email, you get a link to your website. Most people, www.NicoleSlaterConsulting.com, I'll put that on there, but then that's it. That's the only place people can click off to. But there's this new website called Linktree. It's free. You can just Google Linktree and set it up. And what it does is it creates a splash page, and I'll show you this in a second, where you can actually go to multiple sites. So you can have your website, link them to your Facebook page, sign up for your newsletter. You can link to your ArtCloud marketplace account, or maybe if you sell merchandise. If there was a news article that you recently had about you, or a video, Linktree just opens up the possibilities. And what's great is it has analytics, so you can see what people are actually interested in. Maybe no one goes to your website, but a ton of people go to, read my latest newsletter, or, your online merch, sale or store. So one example I'd like to share with you is this wonderful artist, Ann Weber, who I believe is on right now. She set up a Linktree account. So instead of it going to, AnnWeberSculpture.com, it goes to this Linktree. So if I click this, you'll see you can kind of put fun backgrounds and stuff like that. She has 2 shops, one for Angels Gate Emporium and one for ArtCloud. She has a video where you can actually see her process, her website, read the latest newsletter. So it clicks off to her MailChimp, her latest newsletter, and if you want to actually subscribe. And you can turn these links on and off, maybe it's topical, or it only happens a certain time of year, so you can change the order. But what's really great about it is you get some real data that you can see what your audience is interested in. So again, that's Linktree, so make sure to write that down. It's free, highly, highly recommend it. The other thing to think about with social media is growing your followers. Posting consistently is my #1 tip. So if you can only post once a week, post on the same day every week. Try to be consistent. Try to give Instagram, it's based on algorithm in a computer, right? Some consistency using hashtags. And then Instagram will start, oh, they post on Tuesdays, great. And they only post art stuff that's safe for, a large group. They'll start sharing that. And that way you can really capitalize on those followers. Anything that you do with promotions and marketing, you want to be funneling those people to your store or to your website. You get to choose where you want their attention, but really try to capitalize on your newsletter and your social media. The other one is advertising. And, this kind of has a couple of red flags in it. You want to just make sure that you really know what you're doing. So with Google advertising, Google ads, it's a really effective way to have, especially if you're a gallery or a small business, to point people, a very specific audience, and show them that Google ad and search results. But if you do not know what you're doing, it's a great way to lose a lot of money really quickly. So I highly recommend, if that's something you're interested in and you have a high budget, that you partner with someone who does that for a profession, so they can really optimize your keywords. For Facebook and Instagram advertising, they make it really super simple. You can boost a post. And I always tell people, play around with it, throw $20 down, see what happens. Do some A/B testing where you do 2 posts that are very similar. Maybe one has a picture of you in it with your artwork and one doesn't. It's just the artwork. Boost them, see which one does better. But there are, more complicated and targeted ways you can use Facebook and Instagram advertising. But for the average bear who doesn't really know social media that well, I would just stick to boosting instead of going through Facebook Business Manager and setting campaigns. Again, get someone who can really help you with that, because the last thing you want to do is throw a couple $100s on advertising your next show, but you're not doing it very effectively, right? So I would just say, spend the money, get someone who actually knows what they're doing with advertising. And the next thing is giveaways. And this really kind of depends on what kind of artist you are. If you are a top level artist that only shows in the top level galleries and you're way up here, then maybe giveaways isn't your cup of tea. But if you're like most artists, which are in the middle, giveaways are a really great way to kind of highlight something that's going on. So I really liked how this artist, his name's 𝗺𝗫, he did this. It's very simple. He was releasing a set of prints and he made a really quick Instagram reel on the different prints that he is releasing. And he just gave this really quick example of, how to give what somebody this. All right, folks, the print drops begin tomorrow on 9/5 at noon on my website. And to celebrate, I'm doing a giveaway. One of you will win one medium-sized print of your choice. Entering is easy. Like this post and tag a friend, and then I will pick the prize at this time. Very simple way, but what the purpose is really to announce that he's releasing this limited edition of prints. So he used that giveaway really quickly and easily.
Yeah, Nicole, just to jump in here, I won't bring up the entire topic of NFTs, but this is something that we've also talked about a lot as that marketplace has expanded. But just taking from kind of the successes of NFTs, I mean, that's one thing that I've certainly seen is that a lot of people said, oh yeah, I can make money by making NFTs, and they just put them out there. But the most successful kind of NFTs are all surrounded around the drop. So it's very much like what you just illustrated, where there's like a pre-launch excitement that you're announcing these, and then you're setting kind of a release date, and you're creating that like shopping energy. I mean, this is kind of what galleries do with having openings. You're creating this event that's adding energy and spawning the impetus to make those sales quickly. So anything that you can do to make someone feel like they have to buy it now before the sale ends, or before someone else scoops it up from underneath them is just a great tactic.
Exactly. If you can manipulate time, right, and see that the crowd is going some way, and really thinking about that marketing rollout plan. So an example of something you can use is, maybe you don't have an online store, but you're going to launch it. Have a whole entire marketing rollout plan, a pre-launch, a release, and a post-launch. So pre-launch is like a countdown. Hey, 5 days till my store opens. Just want to let you know, all of, you could put a promo code in your newsletter or something like that, for all, the first 100 buyers or whatever, you get 20% off or something like that. And showing the artistic process, showing what your studio looks like, what art you're working on, and you're finishing the artwork really quickly because you're about to sell it on your big shop release, and your store opening. Then the actual release date, make sure you send a newsletter out letting people know that it's now available with easy to click buttons on where they can shop. Doing social media posts and asking all those family and friends, in your core group, hey, can you please share this? Let people know that I now have a shop open, or I now have a limited edition prints, that are coming out. And then post-launch is really about reminding people that it's there without being a car salesman. Please do not make every social media post, buy this thing, look at me, like I have a show. You need to, soften it and have some fluffy posts in between about why you're an artist, what makes you wake up every morning, what inspired this piece. Make sure that it's balanced content, especially when doing giveaways, especially when talking about sales. No one wants to be sold to, right? But you can say, hey, this is a piece I'm working on. This is what inspired it. And actually this Friday, my shop's opening. It's gonna be available. Another post-launch technique is actually showing your artwork. This, my painting found its forever home, or whatever, you can do, or you can cheat and have put it in your really nice friend's house, take some photos and just say like, I'm so happy this piece, found a home. It's all a song and dance here in marketing. I'm sure you guys are aware. If you guys have any marketing questions, just a reminder, you can put them in the chat and we can open that up later for Q&A. Another huge topic to think about, especially in the art industry, is community building. As you know, with galleries, it's the slow dance, where you try to allure them and try to get them to represent you, and it takes a lot of time. But visiting a couple of key galleries that really show art like yours, talking to the gallerists, talking to those interns and those receptionists and those people that support the gallerists, making sure that they know that you're an artist, and trying to create opportunities where they ask, oh, so what do you do? But asking lots of questions and really building that relationship with them is wonderful. There's lots of local artist talks and events. Eventbrite is a great place. There's all these podunk places in America that have wonderful funded art programs, like the Arkansas Art Council. They have, free artist webinars. All you have to do is just go on Eventbrite and search, artist talk, and click free, and there's a lot available. There's online forums. I don't know if you guys know this, but ArtCloud has an artist Facebook group. And so you can post and ask questions about ArtCloud, connect with other artists, ask for tips, saying, I've visited this gallery 20 times and they still don't know who I am. Do you guys have any tips? And other people can, chime in and help out. And also meetup.com, it's an app and a website. Especially if you live in a larger metropolitan area, it's there's more meetups and really connect with other artists. I highly recommend getting an accountability buddy, another artist or a group of artists that you can say, hey, okay, I sent out these many postcards this week, or I actually talked to the gallerist. It was really scary, but we actually had a really good conversation, and have that accountability partner to help you with promotion and marketing. So many times we get stuck in the fear of self-promotion and the icky feeling, but if you kind of come from a place of service and helping someone else out and having an accountability partner, it's a really good way for success.
Yeah. Nicole, something I've heard you say before is you tell artists to go to 4 galleries 40 times rather than going to 40 different galleries. And I think that's another great point. Really, it's not just about creating community, but finding your specific community. So, who are the galleries that, you think you would be well situated for, and really honing in on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And have of those 4 galleries, one be bigger, have one be smaller. You don't all have to, play small. Have something, if you really have art that is wonderful and you think will fit in, play big. They need art too. But galleries are planning, 2 years in advance. So you have to show up a lot of times. And then, they'll start appreciating that you're a regular, and you start, finding their friends and finding their community and like putting the pieces together. But it's very rare that you'll go to a gallery once and this magical gallery owner will have the time to talk to you and then ask you all about your art and then give you a show. Unfortunately, I have not found that to be true. But I'd love it to be. Melanie, do you want to talk a little bit about art fairs for artists?
Definitely. So we've put together a couple of artist-specific art fairs here. So the Superfine Art Fair, the Clio Art Fair that just had an iteration a couple of weeks ago in New York, and the other art fair are all fairs, fine art fairs that are specifically targeted for artists that self-represent themselves. So you could look into any of these fairs, to have a booth or to share a booth with other artists. And this would be, a great way if you're not already working with a gallery to, make direct sales and contacts as if you were a gallery. A couple of things I'll just kind of point out about them, though, there is a booth fee associated with them. So, on the topic of creating community, one thing I might suggest is reaching out to the other artists that have either participated in those fairs in the past and getting a real sense of, how did sales go? How did the communication go? What was the attendance like? And also making sure, is the art that you're bringing in the right price category? Does it kind of fit in with the collectors that they've seen, because these can be big financial investments for you, especially if you're traveling to participate in a fair. So you really want to make sure you're doing your research and not kind of like walking into these blindly. These three examples, are specific to kind of like fine art, but then there's a whole other kind of category of, makers fair, renegade craft fairs, and certainly, they would all have an opportunity for fine artists, especially if you do get into kind of the more merchandise route with, making giclée prints or, printing blankets or, home furnishings, pillows or pins and that kind of like merchandise. And then there are often opportunities. So the Affordable Art Fair and then Art Market Productions, which has a series of fairs, including the San Francisco Art Market, Art on Paper, and the Seattle Art Fair. They do accept a limited amount of established artists collectives. So, you might want to explore some of these fine art fairs specific to artists. And then if you find success in that, another route might be to work with one or two other artists, establish a collective, and present yourself, to the curatorial board of maybe a fair that would put you, on equal footing, representing yourself with other galleries. So those are just some ideas on the fair route specifically.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So now is our question section. If you have any questions that you would like to ask us or comments, we're happy. I don't know, Melanie, if you want to.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome to turn on your video, turn on your sound. We'd love to hear from each of you if you have specific questions. While we're waiting for you to think those up, I'll just put in a plug for our next office hours, which I think Nicole mentioned is going to be specific to crafting email newsletters or campaigns. That's coming up on October 18th. One thing that we've just released with any Art Cloud Manager subscription is the ability to do email campaigns directly from Art Cloud. So we'll kind of be showcasing that, but also Nicole will be talking about the importance of, building a strategy around newsletter and how to, get an audience for those newsletters. So I'll just put in a small plug for our future office hours. It looks like Ann Weber, if you'll unmute yourself, we'd love to hear a question from you.
Testing 1, 2. So yes, you mentioned campaigns, and I didn't quite understand what that is. So I already have a system through MailChimp. So that means that I'd have to learn a whole new system, right, to put together a newsletter. Is that right?
Yes, it would be comparable to what you're doing in MailChimp. You know, one of the, there's kind of two advantages to learning that new system. One is that if you were doing it inside of 𝗺cloud, it's already connected to your inventory. So it's very fast to, you know, select inventory, pull that into an email campaign and include things like purchase or inquire buttons. So you're actually selling directly from those email campaigns. And then also, you know, you're probably used to looking in MailChimp at kind of the statistics, the open rate, you know, the click rate. We also have that in 𝗺cloud, but another advantage of using it in 𝗺cloud is you would be able to see exactly the contacts that clicked into those emails. So we can illustrate this next month, but just to kind of put in another plug, you know, if any of you are using the to-do functionality in the 𝗺cloud Manager, you know, that's a great tool for being able to like remind yourself to do those Monday Instagram posts. But another way that you could use those to-do reminders is that, okay, if you sent out a newsletter and you saw that Sam Smith clicked on, you know, your link 16 times, you might want to, you know, set up an email reminder. Not today to give them a call, because that might be creepy as we all learn more about the back end of marketing, but maybe in a week you could give Sam a call and just say, hey, I had you on my mind. Let's talk, or open up the conversation from there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions you want to open up to the committee here?
Or if anyone's having any challenges with online commerce, or, you know, maybe they're not sure what the best, you know, avenue is for them, you know, we can strategize really quickly.
Well, I do want to thank you for all of your expertise, and it's really great to have so many people in the room that really know a lot about selling. I also think that artists it's hard to sell your work, and there's a little bit of a question in my mind when you're a fine artist, as if you want to get into the merch business, you know, that's actually another full-time job. And I don't know, I think that's, I'd be curious to know if anyone else who's on the call is thinking about ways that they might be able to generate a little income with that. Nancy, I know you, and Valerie, and whether or not that has an appeal to anyone else. Nope. Yes.
Feel free to, yeah, unmute yourself. If you don't mind, I'll weigh in a little bit, you know, and I think something that is similar that I've seen you do successfully is, you know, not everyone can afford or has the space for your big, beautiful masterpieces, such as the one behind you. But, you know, you have developed that series called That's the Point. And I wish I could take my computer into my bedroom and show off my, you know, small Ann Weber, but, you know, even if it's not merchandise per se, you know, thinking about, you know, creating a smaller series of work or things at different price points, so that, you know, if you do have friends and family or just fans that maybe could never house or afford, you know, a big piece of yours, you're still opening up that sales opportunity to them so that they can own and love a piece of yours, but you're also able to monetize that.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. And the fact that I do sell things, smaller pieces through Angel's Gate, where I have my studio, and then a certain percentage goes to the organization. So that's been a way that I've tried to make things happen, and it's working pretty well.
Good, good. So you're a great test case of kind of exploring other avenues besides just those direct sales. And, even with, other platforms such as, in your case, Angel's Gate, but if you were interested in 𝗁𝗍 or maybe another one of these other routes that, even if they are taking, a commission fee, 35%, maybe even 50%, that's still worth it to you. And hopefully too, and this could again be something we talk a little bit more with newsletters, but even making those smaller sales can certainly lead to a broader audience and just getting your art out there in general. So I know that it's more gratifying to sell something big and expensive, but sometimes selling a lot of those smaller pieces could open up doors or opportunities as well.
Yeah, and the large pieces are maybe once a year. So
another good point is that when you sell, through your website and not a gallery, you get 100% of the commission. So you can offer it for a lower price if that's one of your strategy to, for those smaller pieces. But you can, if you build your audience and build your collectors, you're getting 100% of the profits, depending again if you have like on 𝗁𝗍 or a different site or different things like that. But it can definitely be much more of a income source. Obviously, merchandise is its own like kind of thing. And, again, if you're a fine artist, you might not want your thing on a mug. But it's still an option for, you could sell like postcards or something like that, just a set of postcards or greeting cards or, that kind of stuff, that it's not taking away so much, but people can actually use it. You can actually print it out and send it to galleries and use it in your own marketing. So there's, a lot of different avenues for that, but it's definitely an income source. For artists, we want to make as much money as we can, so the industry is changing and is more open to online sales.
thank you.
Yeah, and I was also going to say, like, applying some of those industry, art industry elements, like limited edition, in the sense of merchandise, like a series of limited edition t-shirts or something like that. I was just looking at Sterling Ruby and his whole, his new fashion, not new, but, his fashion campaign and how great it is. There's like, all of these things are being opened up, and it's like just another element of your story and your narrative as an artist.
And also feeding the frenzy back to the artwork.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes back to creating that like sales energy. This is something that we can think a lot about, is like what makes it a timely sale, like what is going to push people to buy it now, like how can you create that kind of illusion.
One thing we didn't talk about is also to check your contract with your gallery. Make sure that you can have your.
That's an excellent point, Christine. Yeah. So
I throw that in at the end.
Imagine gallery contracts might be changing to keep up with the times, because certainly I think galleries are seeing more and more kind of collectors as they start following artists individually and have the easy access through Instagram to communicate directly with artists, that can certainly be taking away from those gallery sales. So making sure that what the lines are, whether they're regional opportunities that you could explore, or if there's a certain series or body of work that the gallery, you have to push all inquiries to the gallery, but maybe there's a series that you're selling directly to collectors.
Yeah, and maybe even partnering with them, like, on a catalog or something, and then you can have a signing at your gallery, have a limited edition of signed, or a limited edition of prints that go with those signed catalogs.
It's a great idea. Yeah.
Probably one of the most important things is that you don't sell the same piece, have the same piece at different prices.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Yes.
You can really get in trouble there. And that's one of the things where @cloud has really helped me, because before I would not always keep my prices up to date, and to have everything and in one place with at the same price, so that if I'm sending it out to a private client, or if the gallery is, you know, representing that piece as well, that is super important. And the other thing that's been great about @cloud is having all of my inventory in one place. So if an art consultant calls me and, oh, what do you have available? Or what do you have in this size? And it's just been so great, because I used to have to paw around and go through it was on, what was it, Melanie? It was on Word doc.
Word documents, right? Which you had a series of Word documents, so they didn't update themselves in the way that, you know, if your your parent gallery says, I'm raising all your prices 20%, you could do that in @cloud, and then, you know, notify all your other galleries and have it all well documented and kind of organized.
Yeah, so that's been a really, really great benefit.
Yeah, I think that's number one. I would say that was, one of the things we wanted to touch on in the beginning, with the consistency in your pricing and even relevance, having all of that in a central location, and then it can travel out to your collectors, your fans, your galleries.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think you brought up an interesting point too. I think that maybe in an artist's mind that, if they're getting 50%, if they sell this through the gallery, then like, oh, should I be selling this at 50% if I'm selling it directly, from my studio? But I would say the answer to that is no.
No.
Don't devalue your artwork just because you are getting, 100% of the commission. Like, you're also doing all of that communication legwork and, shipping if necessary. So, if you are working with a gallery, trust them to set your prices and then keep those consistent. And then if there is an opportunity to, sell a different series on directly through your website, make sure that you're keeping, that gallery is establishing that pricing and saying that, they can sell it at that price. So you can feel confident at doing that as well. But then you can also have more wiggle room in your discounting. So
any other questions? I think that might be it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. A special thanks to Nicole for bringing all of your many years of experience and marketing advice to the table. As we've talked about, our next office hours is October 18th, and we'll be focusing on a successful email newsletter. We've also included a couple of other resources here: our knowledge base, the Facebook group that we mentioned, and then our YouTube playlist where you can see our archived office hours. But we look forward to kind of continuing the conversation. And, if you have any specific questions, you're always welcome to reach out to support@artcloud.com. You might get Christine or one of our other many wonderful support specialists. But we are all here passionate about, supporting and making it a thriving business for artists, and giving you, all of the tools to be able to do that professionally and effectively in one place. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you next month.
Yep. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.